shorty from Barbados. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Well, I can't find your halo. Last time I seen a shorty like you, my crib had cable. I don't remember the last time that my crib had cable. Take my hand, I'll say, hey, shorty from Barbados. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Well, I can't find your halo. Last time I seen a shorty like you, my crib had cable. I don't remember the last time that my crib had cable. Take my hand, I say, I make music, no label. I get bread, no label. She takes me like baby. Once he saying I'll take it. How could that pussy undertake it? I met a bitch and she from Jamaica. We haven't talked in a long time. I still remember just how I ate you. Beat up the batter like I'm a baker. Skin soldier like I need a baker. Ground time, baby, I ain't a skater. My time, I cannot do the later. I'm a poppy, her father, she call me Vader. But my heart, yeah, you know, kinda hater. She ain't really want fuck girl, you can't paint it. She in my canvas, I had a painter, oh. Take out them jail like, oh, wow. Boy, nigga, but you in too soft. She sounds so cold, she need 2 sauce. Jumping in just like a pool now. So hot, baby, I need cool down. I was hot, but you know I'm cool now. Got niggas that hot, but they shoot now. Move saucy, but I got the juice now. Bitch, yeah, I'm like AD. Yeah, I'm cool, nigga, AC. Got bitches on me, LADs. Put in work, I'm not lazy. 99 pound like Jay-Z. I'm in the water like waist deep. Told them gotta be safety. Fat cake, give me that cake, please. Shorty from Barbados. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Well, I can't find your halo. Last time I seen a shorty like you, my crib had cable. I don't remember the last time that my crib had cable. Take my hand, I'll say, hey, shorty from Barbados. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Well, I can't find your halo. Last time I seen a shorty like you, my crib had cable. I don't remember the last time that my crib had cable. Take my hand, I'll say, shorty from Barbados. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Well, I can't find your halo. Last time I seen a shorty like you, my crib had cable. I don't remember the last time that my crib had cable. Take my hand, I say, hey, shorty from Barbados. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Well, I can't find your halo. Last time I seen a shorty like you, my crib had cable. I don't remember the last time that my crib had cable. Take my hand, I say.
At some point, you gotta decide for yourself who you're gonna be. Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Hello, we're back.
What's good?
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal, actually, because
man.
I just had a great conversation with my old buddy from college, and we were talking ideas and all that
My
goody
old buddy,
stuff.
old pal.
Yeah, talking about the old war stories.
Oh my god.
No, not literal war stories, but oh, Matt, your little circle. There we go.
Yeah, last time when I was on the iPad, kind of messed up everything, but we're back and we're better.
The old school
Oh shoot,
background.
it's a throwback. It's a little Easter egg for
what
a long time
you got
fans.
Corey in here. What's going on, Corey?
Oh,
You're
boy.
not Corey. You're Matt. What? All right.
We're not talking about what if anymore. Tyrone despises the show.
I hate what if. What if I was the Joker? All right, here we go. All right, this show is starting off fantastic as it always does. Today we will be talking about a couple different things. We will be talking about our cinematography choices of the month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that, you know, if it works out, we might do it a little bit more often. Who knows? Maybe something off scripted. We will talk a little bit about Lil Nas X. We'll talk about The Boys. Talk about Dear Evan Hansen. But before we get into any of that, how you doing anyways, buddy?
I'm doing well. This week flew by. It's already Friday. I get paid tomorrow, which is always great.
Mhm.
And I'm going to a wedding reception for one of my good
Oh,
friends
nice.
who I've been playing D&D with for about 4 years now.
Oh, shoot.
So the gang's getting back together. No games this weekend, but we'll all be chilling, all dappered up.
When's the last time
So it should be hype.
you've actually like dressed up and gone out?
It's fucking years ago, man.
Yeah.
I just realized like today when I was picking up my dry cleaning, I was like, wait, this is gonna be like the largest group of people I've been around since like 2019,
For sure.
which is kind of
For
bonkers.
sure.
But it appears to be safe. And a few of my old former coworkers who like I haven't seen since I was still working with
Mhm.
them and they had left, I'm gonna be able to see them again. So it's gonna be pretty baller.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. This weekend, I got a 90th birthday to go to. I'm going
Oh
to,
shoot!
my cousin plays at our alma mater, Brookline High School. He
Oh
plays
shoot!
at the rival school, so he was like, "Oh, come watch the game," and I was like, "Yeah, sure." So it'll be interesting to see, and it
Okay.
seems like it'll be just good family time. I'll try to do some sketches, actually record maybe,
Oh shit!
and yeah, I want to bring Detective Dan back out. So hopefully,
Oh yeah, we got some. We also got some good brewing. We worked on last Sunday.
oh yeah,
You mentioned about it. You hinted at it on your
I
podcast,
did,
which was a
I
great
did,
episode, by the way.
yeah.
So we're excited to get that content to you guys soon. I think we think you'll like it a
Yeah.
lot.
Speak of the podcast, in the podcast, I mentioned how you don't listen to Phoebe Bridgers. So what I want to do is like record your live reaction one day with Hannah because Hannah loves Phoebe Bridgers
Oh my
just as
gosh.
much as me, if not more. So it'd be funny to see your reaction. You just be like, yeah, this is yeah.
So here's the thing. I have listened to Phoebe Bridges
I
before.
don't believe you.
I've only listened to one song, and this is why it's like, if I do a live reaction, I can't listen to this song.
What's the song?
It has to be any other song but this. I listened to Moon Song as a recommendation from my younger sister, and I bawled my fucking eyes out. Excuse my language. You're gonna have to edit that out later. And I don't want to do that again.
No,
So,
no.
yeah.
Carly says she's not in love either. I think what that is with Carly is she's jealous because Phoebe Bridgers is dating her actor crush. She likes this guy from
Oh,
Normal
shoot.
People, that Irish show. She's dating
Yes.
him, and she was like,
No.
So,
Then you're obsessed with Phoebe, so it's
Yeah.
like a double
it
whammy.
is. It's a double whammy.
So the man she wants, she can't have, and the man she does have wants her.
Exactly. But
We love you, Carly.
let's jump into some of the cinematography stuff.
do it.
Let's see what we got here. We're just two circles
Let's
right
start
now.
off
Wait.
with I think you should start off with your guy since you've seen a lot more of his work. I'm
Sure,
excited to
sure.
kind of see you dive into it.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm just trying to figure out the watch
Oh,
part.
with my head.
Jesus. All right, there we go. Yeah, there's like 3 different like camera angles. We got the circles.
The classics.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in like what are those, the Blue Man Group or something.
Oh my gosh,
You
yeah.
just be like- All right.
I've actually never seen them. Funny enough.
Oh, we should go. It was phenomenal. And then this is
Do
just
they still perform?
yeah, this is like some bass thing, and then this is like a watch. So let me throw it up on here. You
Let's
guys
do
are
it.
getting to see a little bit of the. So we will start. My yeah, I should have probably set this up before in retrospect, but you know, I think the audience likes to see us fail and laugh. So,
That's all good.
all right, put that there. So, let me start that again. All right. So we're doing a little bit of a cinematography discussion about two people who are just great at what they do. Like I said, we want to get more. We want to get better at doing this kind of stuff, like film history lessons and teaching, and kind of getting your thoughts, our thoughts. So we decided let's work on cinematography. So I think we're gonna start picking once a month a cinematographer to highlight that interests us, and hopefully down the line they get more scripted with the videos and put them on YouTube. But
Yeah.
to start out, oh, your little head keeps moving.
My circles all over the
I know.
place.
All right, to start out, my guy is Hoyt van Hoytema. And he's done Ad Astra, The Fighter, Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, Spectra. He's done Dunkirk, and he's done Her. He's done Interstellar, and one of my favorites, which isn't on here, he did Tenet. So he obviously collaborates a ton with Christopher Nolan. What I really like about this guy's style, well, first off, he was born in Switzerland. He's got Dutch and Swedish background. He has this style, for me personally, that I really like, that is a super wide shot that lets you really feel the environment you're in. Like the way he positions and moves the camera, it always feels like you're in the scene. And with a lot of cinema now, we see so many close-up shots or shot-specific objects, you know. And what I really like about his style is it takes moments to really spread out and you can be involved in the scene. And it makes me feel, when I'm in the theater, like all the like titles that you're seeing on the screen, those are all theater experiences for me. And when I see them, it really takes my breath away because I'm watching such a beautiful wide landscape or scene, and it just really positions me in there. And he does also some really cool camera tricks in, for example, like Tenet or Interstellar, where the camera is like upside down and twisting, and it's not your conventional camera style. And but it also does those really close-up shots that we always signature with our boy Barry. And it just makes it feel very intimate. Like sometimes you're very close, so you feel intimate with the character, or you feel intimate with the environment. Have you seen any of these?
I've seen Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Tenet.
Yep.
I saw it with you.
Have you seen
so
Spectra?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I've only seen his Christopher Nolan work. I did not know he was behind Her, though, a movie that I've been meaning to watch for years.
Oh, we should watch that together.
Yeah, we should. I would love to. To your point, like just the way in which I feel like the works in which I've seen him have been like, you know, Christopher Nolan's movies are always like a cinematic event.
Yeah.
And I think that Hoyt really captures that. Like when you see an opening or an establishing shot or an extreme wide angle of his, it's so crisp and clear and just communicative of like the scale of the film. And especially his work on Tenet, the way in which he like really kind of like played around with our expectations of the world and, you know, what was going on, how the characters related to that.
Yeah.
Especially that blue and red scene with the multiple timelines and the incorporation of the machine, as well as like his work on the highway chase scene, filming in reverse.
Yep.
Like the work, it seems like every time he kind of like gets a shot in the ring, he really takes it up to another level. Like his scale grows as Christopher's does. And one of the best makings of filmmaking is, you know, having your director and your cinematographer like on the same page. And I think, yeah.
And if you look at some of these shots, his signature really is to center the subject, which, you know, sometimes like if you look at that Spectra, for example, it's an object and someone's off to the side, but it's focused in the center a lot of the time. He has also a shallow depth of field where you're really up close, so it does that where it feels really crisp and close up to someone's face. And these stories that he's involved with are very much a lot of times about the world, or it's about this character going through this journey. So I think it's incredibly important when you're telling a story that there's some intimacy in a relationship with the camera, with your subject or the setting. So that's why I chose Hoyt van Hoytema. I just thought, his movies really have always moved me, and
Yeah.
they just stick with me a lot of times. And when I think about, going to Barnes and Nobles and I stop to pick a book up or to look through, and it's typically some of his work, just because that, like something like Tenet or Spectre, like I have right over there, I got the Tenet book. It just really moved me, and that doesn't happen a ton where in today's society where you can YouTube everything, where you want to pick up a book just to like really see the photography of it. So I find his work incredibly moving, and I love it. So
Yeah, no, and for good reason. Thanks
right.
for sharing, friend.
Thanks, buddy. All right, so next up we have your pick.
All right, so my pick is less of I can't really speak onto her entire collection. My choice here was just I was very impressed with her film Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yep.
Speaking of cinematographer Claire Mathon,
Yep.
who is a French cinematographer. It's a French-made film, and what she does that really stood out to me is not only is like her establishing shots and her filming of like the beach scenes. We have a few in there that were like very impressive, and also the way in which like that shot right there from the poster of
beautiful,
that signature
mirror
moment within the film, the mirror shot of the framing of the lack, how she was able to visually communicate what it meant to like the gaze and like knowing someone, and the denial of that. I think a big part of that played a big part in the movie. And what I love so much was how she really captured the essence of the human face and the gaze in which they peered upon the camera, as well as the character that we're in the viewpoint of in those moments. A big thing that we see within both film, society, and has been talked a lot about as with the growing discourse of feminism is the male gaze and how it's piercing and a lot of the patriarchal implications that come with that.
Yep.
And what this movie does, as it's an intimate story between two women, kind of almost visualizes the female gaze, one that's far different than its male counterpart, one that is more delicate and just beautiful in a way. At least from my experience.
Yeah, it's a funny comparison to make is like you see with a lot of sex scenes, porn, etc. It's typically from the male perspective, and thus a lot of time it's very aggressive, or this woman is like very like it's like a piece of meat almost, like you're going after. But
with domination and physicality,
right? But what Claire does so well is it's almost like she slows down time, and you just like we haven't seen Spencer yet. We definitely will, but some of these shots with Spencer, it just when it's on the screen, it just feels like time is slowing down, and you're like. You can see Kristen Stewart's eyebrows very well, and her nose shape, and like her lips, and like how long the nose is, and like it just gives this intimacy where you're like, wow, this person's beautiful. And like even when some of the characters aren't necessarily attractive to you, they still come across as very beautiful people, because there's this relationship, like I was saying, with the camera, where she knows how to position it and use this zoom style and focus that really, as you said, it takes the facial expressions and really moves it.
Yeah, and I think like what I left the theater feeling so like emotionally impacted, not just like in like a heart-wrenching fashion, but like in just an uplifting and positive fashion. Like I felt the way in which it's a testament to the actresses themselves, was I felt like the intimacy and the affection from those characters just through the camera work as well as the acting. And to convey a believable yet soft-spoken like love story between two characters was just like remarkable, and I had to choose it for this. So
well, thank you for sharing.
of course.
I love Claire stuff, and I think I appreciate you mentioning her as well because I, honest to God, had no clue who the cinematographer was, and I feel that's a common trend we see in general with film is like they really are the ones who make the films, and it's weird that we don't give them nearly enough attention. We praise the director, we praise the
Hmm.
writer, we praise the actor, but the cinematographer feels often left out. And it's in my opinion, my personal opinion, award shows are award shows, but to me, the films that I always gravitate towards to watch first are the ones that win best cinematography. And
Yeah.
and I look through that because I'm like, that is the principle of what we're talking about here. Writing is writing, but that could be spoken, that could be in theater, acting, same thing. But cinema and like that visual storytelling, that that's not theater, that's not audio, that's not radio. So to me, that's almost the most coveted award of the night. So
Yeah, because if they don't if they can't capture the director's vision, then like how can it ever exist?
hmm
And I think with one thing I wanted to note with Claire's work is just we don't really see like many women cinematographers get too much praise. The first one was ever nominated, I want to say in 2018, 2017 for
yep,
Mudbound,
yep.
and it's hard enough to like remember cinematographers' names off the top of your head, let alone like female cinematographers. So
Yeah.
just the more we can do to shine light on their work, the better.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think there is like almost this idea that there aren't a lot out there, but I think it's more about they don't get elevated and pushed. One of
Yeah.
the first short films I ever saw that like I really, really fell in love with. I wish I knew her name. It's Greta something. If I find it, I'll put it in the video or in the link description. But that was the first short film I ever was like, when the Circle Club ends up becoming this big media company, I'm buying that short film
Oh
like
damn.
because it was this story about this girl hanging with two guys, and typically with that relationship, it's always focused on how the guys, and it's like, oh, he's trying to get the girl, but like this story was focused on how the girl felt in that trio, and the way
Ooh.
the camera is moving, it had that same type of intimacy that I think Claire has, and it just reminded me of that. Just so I just want to mention that.
Nice. Be
All right,
interested in seeing it. You have to send it to me sometime.
I will for sure, and it's a quick one. That's what I like about short films; that they're quick, so it's like it's really not too much of a commitment, and you get a nice treat.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple other things we want to talk about here. Let me put them up on the screen. So we watched a couple different projects, you and I both.
Hmm.
Um, you watched The Boys. I started watching The Boys actually myself a little bit. Um, you did not watch Dear Hansen. I did. And then we got Lil Nas. Lil Nas. Yeah,
Is there?
I'm stalling. I'm stalling.
No worries. No worries.
Poorly, but yes, I am stalling. All right. So, what would you like to discuss? Would you like to discuss?
Start
Um,
on neutral ground. Let's talk about Lil Nas X to
okay,
start.
sure.
My as you've seen from the notification, my dear friend.
Yeah, you're very close friend Lil Nas X. Um, so the question of the day was: have you seen his promo? What did you think about it? And were you invited to the baby shower? So,
Sadly, my gift did not get delivered in time. I think there was an issue with the Amazon Prime. I know there was like a lot of rain the other day, but no,
well,
I
I
did see I did see the
I
promo.
think yeah. I did send my stuff, but Amazon doesn't pay its workers enough, so they kind of striked, and then they
That's
didn't
true.
end up making it to California, unfortunately. But no, I saw this promo, and so I was listening to his interview with Zane Lowe, um, who does awesome stuff,
Great
and
interviewer.
yeah, and he was talking about how he's like, is it weird for you how you started as the Old Town Road guy, and now you're so involved with social media and Twitter and TikTok, and like, do you feel kind of almost like an industry plant, or like you're doing these lavish things to stand out, or do you feel, you know, otherwise? And so he started talking about it, and he said, it's weird. He's like, I started doing music in 2018. 2018.
Yeah.
With my brother, we're making stuff. My brother goes off to the army, and a month later, Old Town Road blows up. And he's like, so I'm just a kid who's from the internet generation, and I enjoy being on it. And it's like, now that I have this platform, one, am I supposed to stop enjoying that? And two, I create this artwork that I want more people to see. So if I can do something extravagant or creative or fun to get them to see that, why would I not do that?
Oh yeah.
So I was curious about what your thoughts were on that.
So I followed him since like the Old Town Road stuff.
Yep.
And I actually saw. I don't know if I don't follow him on Twitter, but I saw him on my timeline enough, and I remember seeing the first snippet to Panini, like hearing it, and I was like, I can't wait for this song to come out. It just that little snippet was so good.
Yeah.
And my opinion on him was, I appreciated his memery. He was very good at memeing, which is like it's not a common skill. A lot of people think they're good.
Yeah.
But he just has like this sense of humor to him, and there's just he carries himself in like an interesting way, and his music always sounds just like it does sound very mainstream. It does sound very clean and polished, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
I always appreciated like I was introduced to him as an artist, and I kind of appreciate his artistry.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it's like he is a pop star, but a pop star in the sense that we grew up with, where it's like, if you're a pop star, you're supposed to be over the top, exaggerated. Yeah. Britney Spears, Madonna, Justin Timberlake, Lady Gaga. Like, that's a pop star. A pop star is supposed to be like these K-pop stars. It's like you get your McDonald's meals, and like you're a queen and over the top, and it's fun. It's supposed to be fun music. So the fact that he makes fun music, but like you said, it's also like good. Like, there's like good lines, there's good wordplay sometimes. It's catchy. Like, you'll just literally
catchiness is definitely 100%.
Yeah, and it's catchiness, but not to the point where you're like, oh my god, this is annoying. Like, I'll just literally sitting there and like, hey Benini, Manini. Like, but I'm not saying the whole phrase. Like, there has been songs in the past that have come out that were pop hits where I'm like, oh my goodness, rah, rah, da, da, da. I'm like, how many times can I hear that, And he likes to change it up, which I think is fun too. And I mean, not to mention that he's part of the LGBTQ community, which has a ton of impact. But it's funny we say that because, or I say that, that is a big part of his personality, but a lot of time it's not. He's just like a funny dude who's on the internet,
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Like, when he came out, it was a surprise to some people, and it was not a surprise to other people.
Yeah,
but it didn't change anything. I'm like, this is just he was still in the process of introducing himself to the world, and it was just another step in doing so.
Right.
So, and I think like I'm glad that he's really kind of like. So when we were looking at the promo, I remember seeing the Elton John tag as one of the gifts, and I was like, oh shoot, Elton John. I didn't realize you had to point out to me that those were the features.
Right.
But he kind of like his performative nature reminded me of Elton John to a degree.
Yeah.
I didn't really grow up on him, but I saw Rocket Man. My parents are huge fans of him, and he was he'd wear these funny, crazy outfits, and he'd just like really get out there. Like, Lil Nas X is a performer, but he doesn't have to be on stage to perform.
Yes.
Performance takes it's all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's an aura. It's and he mentioned how Elton John he's like, I have Elton John on my album. Like, that's just crazy. He's like,
and you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nothing.
And like he was like, I don't know Elton John that well, and like we don't talk a ton, but like the fact that he would even reach out to me and like be like, hey, he wants to be a part of this, or like Kanye reaching out and working on that song.
It was Industry Baby.
Industry Baby, thank you. Yeah, like it's just cool to see, and like obviously our boy Kid Cudi was saying last night, He's like, I can't wait to work with them. Like, what this guy's doing for the black community is huge, and it does remind me a little bit of what Kid Cudi was doing growing up, where he gave this generation confidence. It's like Kid Cudi opened the door, and Lil Nas was able to step through it and like elevate that.
Yeah, in terms of like within the hip hop community, like
The
really
culture, yeah.
stepping out, being more vulnerable. And you can hear it in a lot of Cudi's early music. He acknowledges like the repercussions of it, or the backlash. One of my favorite lines from one of my favorite songs ever, "Man on the Moon." There's a little like tidbit in between the lyrics where he's like, person's like, "Why does your stuff sound like that? Like, it sounds so weird." And he's like, "Why not?"
Yeah.
And it's like, and I think the "why not" is just that has kind of carried into like Lil Nas X's career, like where it's just like, why not just like do this goofy ass music video where a bunch of inmates and we're like dancing in the showers and stuff,
Yeah.
and then why not be pregnant for my album promo? And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
like,
it's funny. It's ridiculous. It's like you're at this point where you have all this money and success. It's like no one can really tell you anything. It's like I'm having fun. So you know what I mean? So why not have that fun?
You got into this having fun, singing
Yeah.
about being a cowboy. And the thing is with Lil Nas X, and he definitely realized it from the jump. You know, he wasn't, from his inception as an artist, he wasn't accepted, whether it was by the country music community. At first, they didn't consider it country music.
Right.
And then shout out to Billy Ray Cyrus. He was a goat for like putting him under his wing and like lifting up a young artist like that. And then now you got the issues with hip hop artists, which Cudi was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, Lil Nas X, when he put his track list out, he realized there weren't many black artists or like rappers that wanted to be involved in the project. And in some of our group chats, we talked. A lot of other hip hop artists have found Lil Nas X to be too much in his business, talking to the point where
Lil
like,
Stinky.
Okay.
What's his name? Lil Boozy Stinky.
Yeah, boozy, bougie. And it's like, some of y'all need to. Why are you talking about this man so much if you don't like him?
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Exactly. Very weirdo behavior.
But we here at the Circle Club, we stand by Lil Nas X.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's just being him, which is our motto. Just be you. And I'm glad that you mentioned that about Billy Ray, because I was going to say that. And what's neat is that Miley Cyrus is on the album, so it's really come like full circle.
Yeah, that is.
And
true.
she's also someone who a lot of people don't realize kind of went through a similar thing where she wasn't accepted. Oh, you're Billy Ray's daughter. And like she was also like, oh, you're Hannah Montana. You can't do real music. And then she tried to do like...
You're Disney, yeah.
Yeah, you're Disney. And like she tried to do hip-hop for a little bit because she was like, I mean, is hip-hop exclusively for black people? Like, and then people said, oh, well, you're culture vulturing. And then she's like, fine, I won't do that. I'll try something else. And then people got mad. And like, so, but I think now with her, Nas, he's going to get there. But it's this thing as an artist, a lot of people go through where it's like feeling comfortable in your own skin and just being you. So
exactly, yeah. And, you hope that artists can learn to do that early in their career and not have to go through that mess.
Exactly. But all right, man, that was Lil Nas X. Let us know what you think about Lil Nas X and his new promo, and just some of the conversation we've had.
Comment down below.
Subscribe.
Let us know.
All right, next up, we are gonna start this new little segment, and we'll push it over to TikTok. It's called Worth the Watch. So a lot of people ask us, hey, Tyrone, Matt, should I watch this show? Should I watch this movie? So we don't want to waste your time, so we're going to try to give you a quick, under 30 seconds to 60 reason. Should you watch this or should you not watch it? So Matt, since this was your topic, I'm going to let you take over. Go.
Okay, cool. So I'm starting with Amazon Prime's show, The Boys, season 1 in particular. For me, after I've been recommended it like from a bunch of people, and after finally figuring out how to open Amazon Prime and work the damn thing, I can confidently say that it is worth the watch. What's about is that, for those who love superheroes and just love to explore that genre, I think this is great for you. It takes things in a completely new direction. If you hate superheroes, I actually think you should watch it, because we really kind of plays on all the tropes, kind of takes heroes the idea of heroes that we know, and kind of brings them into the real world and looks at them in a very cynical manner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for the faint of heart. It's if you've wanted to see rated R superhero movies, watch this show. This like takes it full throttle, and it's based off of a graphic novel series, which has also been critically acclaimed. So you should definitely take your time and just watch through it. I breezed through it in like 2 weeks. It was fantastic.
Great recap. Thank you, Matt. Now, if you could give, if you can give people a couple examples of other shows, movies, whatever that it's similar to, that way it's kind of like, oh, it's like this show. Maybe someone could kind of make a comparison.
So one show that it's been consistently tied to is another Amazon Prime original, Invincible, which we covered months ago.
Yep.
Fantastic show. This actually came out before Invincible, and season 3 is still in the works, so it's pretty hype. Outside of that, I want to say the only other thing I can tie it to off the top of my head would be the Injustice comics, which is like an alternate universe story within DC Comics, when like Superman basically becomes evil, like some bad shit happens, and he just is like, I'm done being a good person, like I'm putting down my fist, and kind of like seeing what that world looks like with heroes that don't really answer to a call of justice anymore.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so just to wrap it up before we go into some more my take, Matt, is The Boys worth a watch?
100%.
All right, so I had a different take. I thought, do I Tyrone Rose like The Boys? Yes. Did I find it interesting? Yes. Did I think the story has my attention? Yes. I'm only 4 episodes in, and as soon as I'm done with this stream, I'm gonna go watch some more.
Awesome.
I love it, but I cannot say it's worth a watch, and here's why. I think the show, while it is interesting and great, it is just way too violent. It's nothing like other superhero shows. I think there are some very triggering topics just in the very first episode.
And the more I think about it, the more I realize.
But keep in mind, this is why there are websites out there like Does a Dog Die? So you can try to find and look these things. But I do think if I'm going to recommend to the majority audience, I would say I probably wouldn't suggest it to most people, because I think most people can't stomach the violence, the gore. There is some sexual stuff. There's sexual assault. And no, it's fine. It's fine. But if you are interested in a superhero show, like Matt said, that has real dynamics of what happens in the real world with superheroes, the cynicism of that, there's a scene where think about it, Superman came, slammed, crashes into the ground, like your car gets destroyed, like someone has to pay for that. There's like repercussions. Like our buddy Jalen says, they made a mess everywhere they went, every single place. Who's gonna clean it up? Not the government. So
oh my god, that was a classic moment.
And like that's really what The Boys is. So, do I recommend it for those who aren't a faint heart or can't handle the light stuff? No, do not watch this. This is not gonna be for you. But for those of you who do like, a Watchmen, a Wolverine, Invincible, I would say The Boys is definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I understated the whole faint of heart thing. Like, you cannot be at the faint of heart with both gore as well as like serious topics.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
I'm at the part right now where like they just had that little Christian festival, and so like that was a lot, dude. But it was funny though. It was funny. But all right, thank you for sharing. Unless you have any other things you want to add in there.
No, that's it. I think we covered it all.
So that's The Boys, and we say The Boys is worth the watch. Okie dokie.
Yeah, thanks for the save back there. Dang.
It's all right.
I was like, I'm still high off of season 2. I was so far removed from season 1. I was like, oh shoot, you're right.
It is crazy. It's crazy. It's definitely first episode. It's worth it. It's fun, but it is a lot. So, but all right. So next up, we have Dear Evan Hansen. So this is how I'm gonna interpret Worth the Watch. I'm gonna do it quick, straight to the point, let you know what I think about it. So I think Dear Evan Hansen, if you like musicals, Pitch Perfect, Mental Health, then I would suggest you give the film a try. But if musicals aren't for you, this is probably something you would want to watch on like a streaming service, if it's on TV in the background. But I would say, due to like just messy execution, casting errors, the tone of it, I just don't think it's something I would watch again. So sadly, I would say Dear Evan Hansen is not worth the watch.
Dang.
And the main reason for it was I just thought it was outdated. And when it talks about mental health, it really was kind of like surface level. I think they wanted to do a lot with it, but ultimately it's kind of one of those scenarios where it's like, hey, I have this mental health issue, and that means I can make irredeemable, inexcusable actions. And,
Oh God,
and
that's the worst.
yeah, and I don't think that's true. One, and also, Evan makes a decision that just goes so off the rails. So the premise of this is Evan writes a letter to himself because his therapist wants him to, and what happens is this kid who's like kind of mean, bullies other people, commits suicide, and his parents find this letter from Evan that this kid took, and they think, oh, Evan, he wanted you to have this letter, but Evan actually was the one who wrote the letter. And rather than telling the parents, hey, this letter wasn't written by your son, it was something, and it was an assignment that the therapist gave me, he decides to lie and go, oh, okay, I feel bad. You know, these parents think that this kid had a friend, so he decides to lie. Takes him to dinner, and he's supposed to confess, and he doesn't. And that there, to me, is where the issue really began, because it's like, that is such an unreasonable thing to expect to happen in real life. Like, you're gonna go down this crazy path where you pretend that you were someone's friend and you actually weren't. And like,
Yeah, like your social anxiety can't be that bad that you couldn't just like have to go through the awkwardness of being like, so my therapist told me to write this letter to myself, and then your son stole it from me because he was really mean. Yeah, like
it would have been as quick as that. Honestly, he could have sent the text message to the daughter and been like, hey, that letter actually was something that went to me. Me and him weren't that close of friends. The end.
then the movie doesn't, the musical doesn't exist, and like if your plot is that easily like pulled apart, it's not a good story.
Exactly. But here's what I think it could have gotten fixed. And I think if Evan would have said, hey, you know, that letter was actually written by me, but I'm kind of going through the same thing as your son, and maybe they could have asked Evan, oh, well, since you're going through this, maybe you can kind of help us to understand or explain, like, here's some things that he wrote or some things he were interested in it. And then Evan can kind of go into that, and then they have a real relationship, because at the same time, Evan doesn't really have a family. So if that kind of becomes their pseudo son. That was just an idea, but it just, as you said, like, your social anxiety can't be that bad where you fall down this crazy path. So, and then his singing was really well done. One thing that I wanted to show you on screen, I don't think I brought it up, was so he was a lot older than.
Dude, looks like he's 40.
Yeah, he looks so old. So it was weird, but it wasn't weird to because he was such a phenomenal singer. It wasn't like you can kind of accept that reality, but there were times where you just you couldn't unsee it.
Yeah, and dude, like, who's in charge of this, like, casting?
Well, cause
like,
he was in the original series that was on Broadway, so that's why they cast him. But it's like that was also many years ago.
It was a long time ago.
It was like it was like 6 years ago, 2015. So like, I don't know, it just doesn't work. But what's funny about this is they're talking about de-aging him in a in a digital version on the streaming, and
that looks horrible.
Well, I think if you didn't know, you might potentially believe it, but it's so weird. Like, he's just so obviously not a human's face because it looks so.
Dude, de-aging is, dude, de-aging works for
A photo, not a video.
Robert De Niro, like in a flashback scene. It does not work for the entirety of a movie.
Right.
Come on, man.
And he's the main character, so it looks really weird.
Being in 3D and like dealing with VFX work, like it's a hard thing to keep up, especially with like the camera work.
Lighting
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So this is ultimately a disaster.
It
for
was
me,
tough is that he looked so different. Like it's not slight de-aging. Like they literally made his face smaller.
Totally. So
He's got more hair. So this is not even just like the facial like wrinkles that are removed. It's like they're adding more stuff. It's just
I would rather
like
them not spend that money and create like a Black Musical Creators Fund and like not have these animators stay up all night to like animate this thing, because this is
just create a fucking anime. I'd rather them unionize their animation studio.
Just a disaster. So, dear Evan Hansen, unfortunately, due to the poor script, and I think even the Broadway script just wasn't that great, to be honest, because I listened to the musical, and I'm gonna say it's not worth the watch.
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
If you like Pitch Perfect, if you like musicals, if you like topics that are around mental health that aren't too serious, it might be for you. All right. So I don't know if we have anything else.
Yeah, me neither. I think we put together a pretty tight rundown today.
We did, I think. So that seems like that's all we got. I mean, it was fun. We had a good conversation. What do you got coming up? So you got the What If, Marvel and stuff. Visions next week, right? That the Star Wars.
Yes, finally, we are definitely going to talk about that. It's gonna be a marquee discussion. So excited about that. We could spend like the next, since we got like 7 minutes left, we could just quickly chat about, expand on our discussion earlier about What If and how we're feeling about the series so far.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I was like very hopeful for the series, and it just seemed exciting. But after watching the most recent one's like, what if Killmonger saved Iron Man? And for me personally, I just don't feel like these little shorts are all that developed. I feel like it's hollow at times, where I just want the story to just keep going or go somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. And for me, that's why like I'm at the point where I'm kind of not really enjoying it as much. I've had a few episodes that I've let linger over a couple weeks, and I had to catch up to them. So
yeah, it's funny because I was kind of debating, all right, am I gonna watch The Boys more, or am I gonna play 2K? And I was like, What If was not really high on my priority list. And I love Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan. I was on the Michael B. Jordan train back when Fruitvale Station. Like, I love this dude. And I was one of the 12 people to watch Creed 2. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think it's fair to criticize people because it's like, well, they didn't do this and I wanted this to happen. However, for me, it's just not working because I want to see them with What If push the boundaries way more than they are. And it feels like it's incredibly poor timing. If this series is just about a separate series and it has nothing to do with the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's not smart for them. It's confusing to be talking about a multiverse while this stuff's going on and them not to incorporate it. But the main thing that's bothering me is like, so this episode about Killmonger was just more that Killmonger is evil and not a good person, which I knew. You kind of told me a lot of people didn't know that, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to me.
But so I was kind of expecting, we're going to get to see Killmonger be a good guy, which then potentially he could become Black Panther in the MCU. And some of these other episodes, it's like, what if the Avengers were in I Am Legend and there was a cure? And it's like, it just...
Yeah, Marvel Zombies, I was a little disappointed with, because the Marvel Zombies, like, comic book series is way more. It's an iconic portion of like the Marvel Elseworld, and I just don't feel like they did it justice. Like the idea that they went with was just like very plain. It was like, all right, heroes, they go here. There's two humans that make dumb jokes the whole time.
Yeah.
Peter Parker, who isn't even voiced by Tom Holland. Like I understand some of the other people that aren't voicing them, but like why isn't? I guess because
So,
he's Sony or whatever the heck.
well,
But
so okay, so two things there. One, I don't know if it's entirely fair to compare the different mediums with a comic and a television show, but
yeah,
to your point, it was just super plain, and like they have that source of material to like dig into, so it's like borrow from
yeah,
there, you know. But that's the thing that's a little confusing too, because it's like, okay, some voice actors are in it, some aren't, and maybe that's to kind of be like, hey, this is the multiverse, so maybe in this multiverse there's a different voice actor, because we're about to see in Spider-Man how it's like there are different Spider-Mans, but
yeah,
it just without right now it's frustrating because I compare it to being in a forest. In the past with these phases, we've been lost in the forest, not knowing where we're going, but because of Corey mentioned this, he's like in the credits they give you these little tidbits about what's going forward. We haven't gotten any of that in this new phase, so it kind of feels like we're walking in a forest and Marvel is the one leading us out, and you know Marvel is good at getting out of a forest. They know what they're doing. But because we don't know where the direction is, it's frustrating, and we want more from these series. Like these series just aren't long enough, some of them.
yeah. We've gotten hinted at a few things, like obviously Kang's appearance, He Who Remains,
Yeah.
and like that really not confusing, but that little tidbit at the end of Shang-Chi. But like you said, those came like how far into this phase so far, and they still really aren't giving us much.
All they're
I think,
telling
yeah,
us, can I interrupt for 1 second?
yeah,
Um, all they're basically telling us is that we're heading towards the multiverse, which I mean we knew from
yeah.
WandaVision. I thought at least, or kind of
I
was.
didn't really know too much from
Well,
WandaVision.
they it felt hinted at the end because you were hearing all these different voices, but
Maybe, yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So
Sorry.
no, but yeah, so for me, it felt like they were kind of hinting at it in WandaVision, and there was a lot of talks about it because obviously she's this cosmic being. We get to Captain America and Bucky, and there's nothing really in there about that. It's just about after the what comes after that. Loki. Loki does that the whole multiverse thing, and we're like, oh shoot, we're in the multiverse. Okay, Kang, and then we get Scarlett Johansson. I mean, Black Widow. I always say Scarlett Johansson, dude.
She has
Scarlett.
red hair.
She
That's
was
why.
like,
It's 'cause of
first
red
off,
hair.
she was like my first like celebrity crush, like one of them. So like, she's just always gonna be Scarlett Johansson to me. But Black Widow didn't really do anything with that. Shang-Chi, maybe at the end.
Shang-Chi's story took place in the normal world, and then afterwards, it like hinted at
Yeah.
other stuff. So,
So
I mean,
all we're
Eternals better give us something.
no,
Better give us
no.
something.
I mean, it's like we're gonna trust them, but it's just like it, even if they gave us like a hint at like at the end of Wanda, we were gonna get um some type of reveal in
Yeah,
Captain
yeah,
America, in Bucky. You know, like just give us a little something to chew on, to simmer on until the next thing, because we know there's a multiverse, and honestly, I think they're leading themselves up for failure because it's building and building and building, and we're like, oh my god, this Spider-Man thing, Spider-Man, dude, if Spider-Man doesn't absolutely nail it, it's gonna be a tough time for them to like convince people to.
I think Doctor Strange. Yeah, if for the mainstream audience,
Yeah,
yeah, I agree. If
yeah,
Spider-Man doesn't slap, people are gonna be disappointed
mm,
because like the ride leading up to this has been so steep.
yeah,
They're like the drop better be awesome.
yeah,
I feel like Doctor Strange is kind of like the last, like
yeah,
the like it's the levees. Like just
yeah,
if that shit breaks, if it doesn't come out good, then like if it doesn't give us the answers we need, I don't know what the heck to expect for the rest of this phase because we're not getting another Avengers movie. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
and
And
so in regards to like what if, just to quickly touch on that, it
sorry,
seems
yeah,
like your issues are more with like the implications of the phase and the greater series itself, or like the direction. I think my issue is that I feel like just this is more of an individual storytelling
yeah,
basis. It's less about my expectations,
yeah.
but it's more about the
The
stories that are
content,
given.
yeah,
The content either isn't as interesting as like I thought it isn't as interesting in terms of the expansive direction that I thought that they were going to go in.
yeah,
Like the first one, it's literally just female Captain America, and then she's an even better Captain America than Steve Rogers, and
yeah,
single-handedly like dismantles Germany in like what feels like a week.
yeah,
You're like, oh my god,
yeah,
like I get it, like it's a
yeah.
30-minute episode,
No,
but everything feels so rushed.
well,
And I think the only episode that I enjoyed was the Doctor Strange one
oh yeah.
because one, I love Doctor Strange, and two, it was a character-driven story that had an arc, and you
So
actually saw them from the beginning to the
yes,
end, and it felt closed. It was a contained story.
yes, 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 yes. That right, you nailed it. The nail right on the coffin. So it's not for me. It's not just about my expectations and like how it connects to MCU. I was 100% prepared to go into this thing being like, this is its own thing. Don't go in it with these crazy expectations. But you look at that Doctor Strange episode, that's kind of more in line with what I thought most of these episodes are going to be like. And for the most part, they've been kind of mediocre. Like, they've just been little changes, and it's supposed to be like, oh, well, this little change makes this like even the one with Chadwick Boseman, like, I don't know, there just wasn't a lot of meat to that. And then there was one that was kind of interesting with Loki and Nick Fury, but then it was just like, to be continued. But it didn't continue, so it was just like,
Yeah.
so right now, like, they're not giving us any direction, and it's frustrating. Like, dude, at the end of that, all they have to say is, we'll return in season 2.
Yeah,
And we would be fine.
Actually, to your point, I think I finally understand why your frustration with
Yeah.
What If, because one, they're portrayed as to be Elseworld stories
Yeah.
that aren't connected to the main Marvel universe, but they're left open ended like normal mainline Marvel content,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, okay, where is this gonna go? Like, are you leaving the door open because it connects to something greater? But like they don't really have an answer. I think the Doctor Strange episode and the one where all the Avengers like die
Yeah.
were the two best episodes in terms of storytelling because even like at the end Loki just takes over the earth.
Right.
And like I think that's a good way to end the story.
Yeah.
There doesn't really need to be a what if. Like sure Doctor Fury's like we're going to have to do something, but like literally dude when the Killmonger episode ended, I was expecting like 5 to 10 more minutes of content.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
It was.
is there just a part two? Do I have to wait like a year for a part two?
Well, the thing that's weird about what happened with Killmongers is like, you kind of expected at some point like Shuri or someone to figure it out, and they come in, they stop them. But to me, I'm like, that is so boring. It's like, you guys already stopped them in the past. Why do we want to see this again? Like,
see this again without like Chadwick Boseman.
yeah, literally. Like, I don't want to see. I don't want to see that at all. Like, give me something I haven't seen. And like,
Although Chadwick died. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I don't mind necessarily that some of these end in the middle of the story and it's left open for interpretation. But it's like Chadwick and Spider-Man. I think they like in that zombie episode they fly off, and it's supposed to be assumed that they go get the cure or they go to Wakanda and figure it out. But it's like, I don't know, like, can we see that?
Yeah,
like,
it felt like a story that was missed. I feel like all these are stories that miss a third act, that they don't have
yeah,
a third
they don't.
act.
They literally don't. No, they do not have a third act.
I do. Like, I don't know, like, what was Killmonger? Did Killmonger achieve his goal? It just seems like he became the new Black Panther.
At least,
But knowing the character and even what he says in the thing, that's not him. He didn't want to just end on that.
right. And
So, like,
and we supposed to
like
assume that like Pepper and Shuri are gonna figure it out.
exactly like literally Killmonger's like in Wakanda with the man who killed his father, which is the whole reason
Yeah.
he went on this journey in the first place.
Yeah.
Same thing, yeah, with the Cure. It's like, all right, they spent all this time to like go fly to this base, and then that's just it. You're like, all right, now find out on Dragon Ball Z, like what
Literally,
the next thing
that's what
happens.
it is. It's like Dragon Ball Z, except
Yeah,
that
it's
has
just
an ending and this doesn't. So
yeah, it's just that's why I'm kind of like not all that interested,
yeah, and
you
and
know,
and
what if at the
and
moment.
that's scary as a Marvel fan because like if this is potentially the direction where they're heading with some of these other things, it's like if we get Spider-Man, right? And this is what you and I and Corey have talked about. It's like if we get Spider-Man and we see Peter Parker from our generation, we see Amazing Spider, we see Tom Holland, and it's like a cut scene or a cameo scene, that is not gonna cut it. Like that's not gonna cut it at all. And honestly, that would make me hesitant to watch not necessarily Doctor Strange because I love that, but you try to put a Hawkeye out there or you try to put some of these other individual characters, I might kind of wait to see what the temperature is, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, even with like Winter Soldier, I missed like a few weeks of that. Like I caught up like later.
Yeah.
Like, it was cool, but like Loki, dude, like we're talking every. I think I actually one episode I waited a full week to watch, and like yeah, there's just something to be said about the pacing in which some of these things are going. So
Yeah, and I went into WandaVision with the wrong mindset. So I personally, I know everyone loves WandaVision. I don't really care for it. It was kind of cool to watch her go through these different time periods, but just because we were accustomed to seeing Marvel continuing the story and like it had been so long since we've gotten Marvel content, I was excited to like, all right, yes, that story we love is continuing. And when they didn't do that or give us even like a heads up, it kind of was like, you're leaving us in the dark when we've like been there for you for 10 plus years. Like I don't know how they do that necessarily. Maybe the trailer they have like the what if voiceover dude be like time has stopped. All of our characters are on their own journeys. Will they come back together? Follow their individual stories. You know what I'm saying? Like just
yeah,
to kind of like and then that way we kind of go, "Oh, okay, we're following Wanda's timeline, we're following Loki, just seeing how they're doing after this big event has happened." I think that's a better way to advertise it because then we don't go into it being like, oh, we're leading up to the next Avengers or like, oh, there's this big baddie. So,
yeah, I think what we've been used to in the past is like because this is Marvel first getting into TV,
mm-hmm.
and I think they're still trying to figure it out because the Marvel movies, while they always would hint at they'd always hint at other things coming down the line, like grander universes.
Mm-hmm.
The movie, you know, it has a beginning, middle, and an ending, and it closes.
Yeah.
And the way it ends, like, you know, something was accomplished.
Right.
And I just don't feel like, at least like just me reflecting on it now, I don't feel like Marvel has necessarily done a good job of having that finality occur at the end of their shows. It's more of just leading to a cliffhanger. Like that's what Corey's been saying in all our group chats. Is like these dang cliffhangers. And I think what do you call it? Winter Soldier was the only one that like felt like it ended well.
Yeah.
And that was good. It was a good story, but like you said, it felt disconnected to the grander cosmic stuff that's been teased at.
And
so.
it was also weird too because well, not even the cosmic stuff. That's a whole other topic. But it felt weird that we watched WandaVision and it was like, okay, WandaVision isn't a continuation of the larger universe. And then they just decide, no, we are going to continue the universe and show you what happens after. And then the next project, they're like, actually, we're not. So it's just, there's a lot of confusion. And I think the reason they are doing it is because there you go. It's almost like all of these shows are adding up to like the first act of something. And then they know because they have a track record, because everyone loved what they did with Avengers Endgame, they're like, people are going to stick around to figure out how this goes. But I don't love that because it's like, you need to win me over and then now. Like, just because, like, you can't sell me on tomorrow if you can't win me today. So
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's important, like, to say, and the way that they did it with the original phases was they were alluding to things. They were putting Infinity Stones into the little story, but it wasn't so on the nose where they're like, "Hey, find out after we sell you 4 more movies."
No, yeah. Some of them, the stones were specifically woven into the plots.
Yeah,
They were MacGuffins that had been incorporated,
yeah.
like the Tesseract, Loki's staff, the Aether, and then the Power Stone. And
Ultron.
Power Stone is literally it's a heist movie in
Yeah.
like Guardians, where they're
Right.
going after a stone,
Right.
and that's how you learn about it. So
Yeah.
I think because a MacGuffin is always easy to like make a story
Yeah.
about or
Hmm.
around. So because we're not, since this is less of a physical object,
Yeah.
it's a concept. I think it's harder for them to hint at outside of hinting at the concept. Like, oh, multiverses, baby, we're going
So
crazy.
so yeah, exactly. But I think one thing I would like to see before we wrap this up, but I think one way that they could potentially, and maybe you can give your take on this too. I think one way they could fix this hinting issue is let there be some cross character conversations. Like, why does only Wanda exist in her world? Like, let Doctor Strange show up. Let Because, like, that's what happened. Tony would show up in all these different things. Like,
I think that's gonna happen
yeah,
in the
I
movies.
agree. I think Doctor Strange is gonna be the guy to start showing up more and woo, time and yeah,
Open up a door. He's like in the
he's
bathroom,
a
like, oh
blood.
shit.
But yeah. So I think that really helped the transition, and at this point too, it's like, dude, you don't need to pretend you're only giving us the Eternals. Like, we know everyone's gonna come together. So just if you if you got Black Widow on set one week, call up Hawkeye and just be like, hey, give us a scene or two. Like, and I think too, as fans, we like to see that crossover, and that was one of the topics we talked about a week ago or so. People like to see those like crossover movies. You like to see, oh, look, there's Groot and there's also Yoda,
Exactly.
so
How do they interact with one another
yeah,
and
so
stuff? Yeah.
like to give us at least one episode in some of these series where there's that crossover and that fun, like it makes you just go like, all right, who's gonna show up in this season? So that's how I would personally fix it.
I agree, my good friend.
All right, well, I guess, do you have a take or something else, or?
No, I think we wrapped it up pretty well. You know, we got a month and a half left until
Yeah.
Eternals, so
All right, so let's do a what if scenario real quick. We'll wrap it up and make it like a 60-second thing.
okay, cool.
I don't know if you got any what ifs off the top of your head,
Oh, I
but
have one saved from last time.
um, let's see. I got a what if for Spider-Man. I think. What if? What if? I had an idea, but I don't know if I really like it anymore. so,
Oh dang.
so do you have one or no?
So does it have to be for Marvel? Or
No, it
can
could be
for
anything. It could be anything.
Okay,
Whatever.
cool. Mine is like a real life one, and
Okay.
mine was like, what if? And I thought about this a while ago. I used it. I wanted to use it for our other session, but I think we didn't get around to me.
Hmm.
Was what if Biggie and Tupac settled their differences and squashed their beef and never got killed?
Dang.
What would the hip hop landscape look like?
That's interesting. I think that if Biggie and Tupac settled their differences and didn't have any beef and all that, that they would become very commercial artists. I think they would fall into the patterns and try to be very kumbaya, because during that time period, that was kind of like the "We Are the World, We Are the Children" era with Michael Jackson, and there was all these artists working together and being like, we have to come together, we have to stop this East Coast West Coast thing. And there was like this like time of peace, and a lot of the music was fun and like about loving, and they were kind of starting to do that toward the ends of their career. So I think we were seeing a big R&B wave. And what's interesting is with Lil Wayne, for example. Lil Wayne was a gangster rapper, street rapper, but he started transition to that, you never come out and out how to love, How to love. And I think we would have seen some kind of form of that with Biggie and Tupac. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think we would look at them differently as artists. I think because of how because of how short their careers were,
Mm-hmm.
that's why they're held in such high regards as like
Yeah.
the greatest rappers of all time. Like
Yeah.
they're still very talented,
Yeah.
but they didn't really have much time to like, put out a dud album. So I
Yeah.
feel like we'd see more of like could potentially see more experimental work from them in
Mm-hmm.
the future. Definitely more collaborative work. Um, his contemporaries like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre were already like really going into mainstream hip hop and kind of defining that West Coast radio play. So I think, Tupac would have become a part of that,
Yeah.
and he was and but like sprinkle his thought provoking stuff in there as well. Biggie was already a commercial hit, so I think we'd have seen a lot more fusion between New York and West Coast
Yep.
styles, just because of that collaborative opportunity that was there. But I think that we look differently at the rap scale. Had they not died, I think we'd be a lot more people would be open to having different people at number one.
I don't have either of them in my top four, and I'll tell that to anyone, and I don't really care. um, they are great, but it's like you said, you don't have that big of a catalog to, in my opinion, to be on that. Like longevity is kind of part of it and changing, and and
Yeah, I
and
think I think because of how tight their catalog is and how solid it was, that's why people hold them really highly. I don't have like a top 10 put together at all, but I think like just Pac and Biggie are just too easy for people to choose. Like you ask
well,
anybody, like they don't even listen to their work and they'll be like Pac, Biggie. Like
let me push back on this. So, Lil Wayne was someone who was, you know, crushing the game, but his game did not evolve very well. Like if he dropped an album today, it would not be that good. And that's just my opinion on it. Maybe other people disagree, but I think you look at him versus like a Kanye West or Jay-Z or Drake. Like
yeah,
they know how to adapt with the times. So it would be interesting to see. Like to me, you're not going to be considered a greatest of all time. The reason why the LeBron Jameses, the Kobe's, the Michaels, the Shaqs of the world are so good at what they do. Serena Williams, Tiger, is because they adapted their game and they had longevity. And to me,
agreed.
Tupac and Biggie, yes, they have really high peaks, but I don't know if, they were in today's culture, they would be around 40, 50 or something, right? I think around the same age as like P. Diddy and those guys. I don't know if they would have been a part of this new PC culture. Potentially, yes. Tupac kind of had that in him, but that also could have changed their music. You know who I really see the parallels? I think Biggie is a lot like Jay-Z.
Yeah,
And
Jay Z
Jay-Z,
was of that ilk,
yeah, Jay-Z took a
100%.
ton of his style, and some would even say bite. Um, and I see Tupac a lot like Kendrick Lamar personally.
Yeah, a lot of people. Kendrick Lamar has tied himself to Pac in many ways,
Yeah,
so I think it would be interesting to see. Cause I don't know if they would have been as receptive to like the change in hip hop
yeah,
as like a lot of people have become. We're so used to so many old heads being like the Joe Buttons of the world yelling at Lil Yachty's for like
yeah,
making happy music. It's like you don't get to make happy
yeah,
music.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, bruh,
Well,
what do you mean? So
what's interesting too is you look at Kendrick Lamar, like he was kind of stuck in his lane and his sound, but then he realized that he was like, yes, I can make conscious music, but it also has to be like entertaining to a extent. Like there's
exactly, yeah,
something to be said about like if you just want to do poetry, then just do poetry or spoken word. But you like part of being a rapper is being a performer, so you have to know how to
yeah,
do that. And with Jay
yeah,
Z, his last album, it didn't really appeal to a lot of people. I enjoyed it a ton, but it didn't appeal to a lot of people. And he's also from that same old school, so it's kind of like, does he have that skill to adapt to this new age? I don't know. His album with
yeah.
Beyonce, I'll go to the grave saying it just wasn't good. Just wasn't good. So
Yeah. Jay Z's an interesting character. One thing I will say about Pac is that he had a superb ability to make good songs, like not
yeah,
just raps,
yeah, yeah,
songs.
Yeah.
Especially with like his collaborative works with like his songs usually had really good choruses, like his mainstream songs. So
Because he knew how to pick a good team and sample and stuff around him. And I think the thing where I would give the edge to Pac personally, in full transparency, I like Pac more than Biggie.
yeah,
Is
same.
he has that theater background. He's he reads. He's a Shakespeare kind of guy. So to me, he's an artist. And if you're an artist, you know how to adapt to the times and speak the language of the
Exactly.
people
Yeah.
around you. You're not just this rapper. So,
Swag.
my what if, real quick, and let's actually make this a quick one.
Oh,
What
shit.
if DC and Marvel come together to make an Avengers type of movie? What do you think the reaction from the public would be, and what story do you think they could tell?
Oh man, the reaction would be crazy. That would be like Endgame on like crack. That would just be another. That would be the crossover of all
Hmm.
crossovers. I don't know what the story would be about personally. I don't think there's room for a good story personally. I think it would have to be like Darkseid and Thanos like team up or some crap, but like which seems so lame because like Darkseid, those two characters would not mesh well. It would have to be some like it'd have to be something like the Anti-Monitor or some crap is
Hmm.
like going to destroy all multiverses, like a Crisis on Infinite Earths, but like jacked up.
I would say it would have to be to the point where Superman is actually dead. Like he's actually dead, and what happens is like they are like we don't know what to do. Like we need to like find something because our universe is gonna be destroyed, and then they somehow tap into it to get Marvel to help them out, and by doing that, there's like a cost for Marvel where they lose someone important like a Black Panther, an Iron Man, or whoever. Like there's a cost for doing that. But they're willing to do that to save these other people, or maybe they move over there. I don't know, but it would be an
Yeah,
interesting.
I would love to see Batman interact with Tony Stark.
Yeah, I just
That'd be
think
great.
it. It's funny because we've seen the Avengers come together, which is nuts. We're about to see this multiverse where we're getting different generations of Spider-Man together. That's, I mean, it's kind of like once you go here, where can you go from there? If
Yeah, exactly. Keep
DC
going
and
up.
Marvel can somehow find a way to pull that off, we're talking honestly the first $1 trillion movie. Like,
Yeah, it just depends on who's in charge of it, because
oh
there's
well, I mean Marvel has to be home court. Come on.
yeah, facts,
I mean,
facts.
sorry DC, but you don't have the track
Yeah, you,
record.
you have
So
the tenure.
no,
Yeah.
I mean like respectfully, Marvel would come to the table and just be like, look, we get what you guys are trying to do, but we've done it. So
Yeah, you've been trying to copy us and have failed numerously,
yeah,
numerous
so
times.
let us take the
Yeah.
lead on this. We'll let you have your moments. We'll let Superman get the final punch because I mean, let's be honest. Superman, of all these superheroes, Superman is like the iconic like
He is the
superhero. He
quintessential. Everyone
is.
knows Super.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
knows Superman. You don't got to speak English, but you know who Superman is.
exactly. So you let him get that final punch, but you let Marvel run the show. So.
Facts.
All right, so that's what we got. Let us know what you think about what if DC and Marvel came together. What would happen? Let us know. Comment below. Make sure you subscribe and send it to a friend. Peace out. We love you to the end. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just be you.
Bars.
All right, peace.